Ask George is brought to you by International Cricket Tours. International Cricket Tours have decades of experience right around the world. If you love cricket, if you love travel, contact International Cricket Tours.
Hello, Huw Turbervill here, editor of the Cricketer magazine, from an autumnal, the Oval Cricket Ground, Kia Oval Cricket Ground. I have with me George of Ask George fame and Mark Machado, who is an expert on Sri Lankan cricket. And we have Ask George. So, day one, third test. It's been a funny old day. We've lost about half the day to weather. And we'll go straight into the first question from Occidental Touriste, who says, would any of the upcoming white ball games against Australia be suspended for similar conditions that caused the delay at the Oval today, the Kia Oval today?
No, because it's a white ball.
Yeah.
The red ball is precious and you must guard it with everything you've got.
It's harder to see.
No,
it's like a gremlin. You can't let it get wet. You can't feed it after midnight.
Oxy. Oxy. They play with the white ball in the dark. That's what it's for. But I do take the point. Should they have gone off in this weather? Is it sustainable to charge people this amount of money, to take this amount of time and go off in weather that you wouldn't necessarily have your car headlights on? Doesn't feel like it to me. Is it necessarily safe to continue? I don't know. Is the game safe anyway? Definitely not. Don't know. It doesn't feel sustainable to me to be doing this.
But it's just been so dank and gloomy all day, whereas in Birmingham, the sun's out, isn't it? But I suppose it brings us back to John Stevenson, ex-MCC chief, something or other, now in Western Australia, who loves the pink ball, doesn't he? And
yeah, I don't like the pink ball. I don't think it works very well. I think it creates very attritional cricket. So I'm not a fan of that. But look, long term, they've got to improve the floodlights and find a way to continue. But I thought they probably should have continued today, but it's tricky.
Can we talk about roofs? Could they get a roof and light it all up?
Look, they're just building their second international cricket ground in Australia with a roof. In Australia, where it's hot and sunny and nice. Why can't we do that?
Could we play in the winter series and all that sort of thing?
Well, obviously, yeah.
We could.
Sri Lanka can't play in September. Can you imagine playing them in January in England?
But if you had a roof, you could have winter internationals, couldn't you?
Yeah.
I mean, it's not... Anyway, it'd be very expensive, but it could be done.
We haven't got any questions about Sri Lanka's bowling today, so I think we need to put one in at the end there.
Well, let's just talk about it.
Yeah.
Well, you go.
So I just don't understand what's going on. It seems to me like it was a good idea to bowl first today, and then they just don't take advantage of it. We turn up at the press conference, they've got the bowling coach out answering questions. I think it might not necessarily be his choice to be out there. I'm hearing all sorts of rumours about who's actually doing the coaching and which former Sri Lanka players might be getting in touch with the fast bowling unit via Zoom. And hopefully, if we come back and do this tomorrow, I might have some more concrete answers about it. But I don't really understand what's going on. I can't really explain it. It's really weird.
Today, George, surely it was about just putting enough balls in the correct areas to allow the pitch and the conditions to help.
They bowled badly. They bowled badly. It was
filth, wasn't it? Some of it.
Look, to be fair, Ben Duckett comes at sides in a way that very, very few openers have ever come at sides. He's Sehwag on Sehwag's best day in terms of the aggression. I'm not saying he's that good, but I can see how it would unsettle you. That is difficult, but it was a day where actually, if they did put it on a length, we weren't asking for anything particularly clever, put it on a length, there was loads of assistance. And they had a huge opportunity and they let it go, just as the batters did at Lord's.
I mean, they came to the Vatican with presents for the Pope, right? Like, it was unbelievable.
And they ended up tripping over and smashing him on the face with their iPod.
Right, we better go back to... Jack Rule asks, why do we never talk about the Oval always getting a test over other grounds? We talk about Lord's always getting one.
Well, that's because
there be two.
That's why.
Lord's, but never the Oval. 3 tests in London in a summer isn't right.
Isn't it? It's a brilliant ground.
I'd always support it.
I don't know. The Oval haven't done anything wrong today, have they?
I think there is a wider debate about how accessible is Test cricket to you. Do you have to do a weekend trip to go to London to go to it? 25% of the population of the UK are within commuting distance from London.
It's a big city.
Yeah, it's a big city. It's a very popular city, but then there's also a load of people who live kind of immediately outside it as well. So I don't think it's the worst thing that there is multiple London tests.
There were almost double the amount of people here today than were at any day of the Manchester Test. Almost. There were almost double the amount that you'll get at Trent Bridge. It's a really terrific ground, and I don't think they've done anything wrong. There's a fair question about should Lords have 2. Let's have that conversation.
While we're talking about test venues and what happens inside them, a lot of Sri Lanka fans have suggested that they may have an away section, a place that all they can sit with other Sri Lanka fans and kind of make noises and sing and dance and sing Sri Lankan songs. And Sri Lankan cricket's much more rowdy than English cricket is if you go and watch cricket.
It's nice when we all sit together, though, isn't it?
It is nice that you all sit together, and obviously we don't want to make it kind of posh the way segregated the way football is, but it's something that's been brought up. I know at the MCG, when they've had Asian teams over, they've had sections which have.
They do, obviously, when the Barmy Army go to Australia. So it just takes some organisation and a supporters group. There's a job for you.
Get the tickets beforehand. Okay, Neil Varani asks, how closely are the ECB going to be following the proposed covered stadium in Tasmania?
No, there was a question on that. Well, they should be following it very closely. But look, they're about to sell English cricket because of the debt they have already. There are various talks going on about roof
surely roofs, though, is future-proofing it, right? Because
it's just terribly
you're losing time. You're driving people away from it. If people spend money on a day of cricket and you can guarantee that it'll be played because you can put the roof on it, that's going to save them money long term, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just a huge amount of money. And for example, how would you do it? So you're probably talking about moving. This one is owned by the King, so it's not as if they could sell it.
And he does love sunshine, doesn't he?
I don't know. Does he hate roofs?
Well, I don't know if he hates roofs, but he loves plants and stuff. So
is that right?
Yeah, it's always talking to his plants.
I think you can.
He was.
Yeah. To be fair, that is true.
I forgot. Spitting image joke from the 1980s. Yeah.
Always talking to plants. I don't know. Don't hang out with him.
It was a gold gag. Yeah. He used to like the wall at the back of here was lovely, wasn't it? A living wall, wasn't it?
Yeah.
He would have liked that, wouldn't he?
He would have loved that.
Yeah.
Maybe we can have a living roof.
Yeah.
It is his ground, isn't
it?
With
creepers and everything. Yeah. Okay.
But that means they can't sell it to raise the money.
I get your point.
For example.
I get your point. I mean, you're always saying sell Lords, aren't you?
Yeah, I really mean it, but it's not going to happen, is it?
No.
Well, they sold greatest weight trays, right?
They sold it twice before.
Yeah.
For how long ago?
Well, a long time ago. But what?
Every cricket in the world wants to play at Lords. I just don't see it.
Well, they can make. Well, yeah, but if there's a very good reason for doing something, and tradition is holding back progress.
I'm not sure.
I'm
not sure every cricket in the world wanting to play there is tradition, is it?
I don't know. It's not a very good.
It's
not a very good pitch.
No. Well, I'd rather dig the pitch up than move.
They can't. They reckon there's a geological problem, not least that it's on a slope. I mean, you're not talking about building a rubbish ground in its place. You're talking about building a really fantastic ground in Hyde Park. We've talked about this before. It's not going to happen. I know it's not going to happen. I'm just saying, let's have a conversation.
Right. Well, we've had it now. So, right. Yatish asks, Josh Hull over Sam Cook, and McCullum saying that county and Test cricket are effectively two different sports. I think it was Key who said that, wasn't it? Or maybe McCullum did as well. Anyway, how damning is that for the county game?
I don't know that it's damning. I think it's true. I love county cricket. You won't find anyone who likes county cricket more than me. It is a different sport. If you get... Actually, do you know what? Sam Cook would have cleaned up today. He would have absolutely cleaned up. But basically, I suspect that Sam Cook's terrific. He'll do fine anywhere, so that's a really bad example. But there are bowlers who do brilliantly in county cricket. Chris Rushworth, for example, terrific bowler. But if you take him to the MCG or Sydney or any of those Australian wickets, really, I don't think he'll have a lot of fun. So you do have to be aware that what works in Chelmsford or Chestnut Street isn't going to work very well in Mumbai.
Do you think people don't appreciate the gap between international cricket?
It's not just the gap. I think it is almost a different sport.
Yeah.
There is a gap, but a lot of good players play county cricket, but they're playing on different wickets in different countries. It's really different. And there's lots of things about McCullum and Key I think are hubristic and unhelpful, but I think on this they kind of got it right. I don't think it's disrespectful to county cricket. I genuinely don't. I think it's just recognising there are different skills for different conditions. And actually, I say again, Sam Cook would have been a perfect bowler today. Sri Lanka would have loved
Is
him.
Sri Lanka qualified?
Well, funny enough,
He
he went on the Lions tour to Sri Lanka and didn't do incredibly well. I mean, he was steady, but he took 4 wickets at about 50 apiece.
Sri Lanka's a tough place to bowl
Of course
seam.
it is,
I'm
yeah.
saying here, though.
Yeah, I know today he would have been. Yeah,
Look,
of
we
course.
all know that Josh Hull's been picked with a view to the Ashes.
Yeah.
And
Exactly.
that's fair. His raw attributes are suitable for that.
Yeah.
For all the news and all the best analysis, subscribe to The Cricketer now for just £3.99 a month.
Sushan asks, wouldn't it be unfair to drop Lawrence for the Pakistan
No.
New Zealand series?
No. What's unfair? Look, it's not about being fair. It's about picking the side that will win. Fair doesn't really come into it.
I think it'd be unfair to not consider him as a middle order player. I don't think he should.
Well, who's he
open
going to?
again.
Okay, but we'll do his.
No, if he doesn't
leave
get
out
in,
Joe Root.
No,
I mean,
of course not.
well,
But if he
that's
doesn't,
the
if he doesn't
option,
get in, that's fine. But I'd like him to be considered as a middle order
well, of
player.
course he'll be considered.
But
Yeah.
hold on, is anyone even saying like he's done? We're not taking him.
No, but he obviously
Yeah.
hasn't had a good series.
Yeah.
He's been forced about out of condition. It's very difficult.
Position.
Zach Crawley will come back. They have a very strong middle order. Test cricket is brutal. International sport, professional sport is brutal. It's not about being unfair. It's
I
just
like
about-
the phrasing of the question because it makes it sound like it's a Sunday league team, doesn't it?
That's
It's like,
exactly right. It's not cosy. It's bloody
he's
horrible.
paid his membership. He's been around for years. Now that
How many spare batsmen will they take, George, to Pakistan?
Maybe only one.
So it'd be Jordan Cox.
Well, I don't know. It might be him because he can bowl a wee bit of spin as well.
we're back to the UAE.
Yeah, well, they've just found out how much it costs to play in the UAE, and I think it's looking increasingly like 2 in Rawalpindi. There you are, straight off the press, that one. 2 in Rawalpindi, 1 in Multan, maybe. It's great. The hotel in Rawalpindi is terrific, although very expensive.
Right. Okay, Bobby Smith, he's got a lovely
Expenses.
article in the Cricketer magazine about Chris Wokes this month, latest issue. Asks, it might be a tad harsh, but given this is the 3rd match of the series, would the Sri Lankan bowlers struggle to get into the Derbyshire team? I know we talked about Sri Lanka earlier a little bit, but this is a specific question to Derbyshire.
Well, they signed Lakmal, didn't they, after he retired? So, I mean, Mickey Arthur's the best placed player in the world to answer this question.
I think
he might take a couple of them.
I think Zach Chappell would have bowled a lot better than any of the Sri Lankan bowlers bowled today.
I don't think it's an ability issue. It's there's a kind of extra 10% that you need to succeed in any international sport at the highest level. And currently today they were showing
It was
very
discipline,
little of that.
wasn't it? It was discipline
Well,
to put balls
bowling
in the right
coach-
areas. 4 or
Bowling
5
coach
good balls.
said they got a bit overexcited.
Did they?
Yeah.
What about?
Well, about the conditions, they were really
Oh, so-
promising conditions, and also maybe a bit frustrating because the ball got wet and maybe didn't do as much as they thought it would for a while. But it did loads.
For me, as a Sri Lanka fan, I think there's too many excuses are starting to creep in. It's
they bowled really poor,
frustrating.
and their fielding was really poor,
Yeah.
including the keeping. They had a shocking day, no way
I
around
remember
it.
the South Africans here 2 years ago. It just seemed like they wanted to go home. You know, I mean, it was the match.
I get. So we talked about this earlier. There's this long-standing. It's not. Is it a cliche? It's probably true that Sri Lanka doesn't particularly like playing in this sort of weather. It's grim weather.
Yeah.
We're a professional side, you know.
Yeah. Professional
sometimes you have
cricketers,
to
it's
go-
your job, you know.
Well, it is England. I mean, what do they expect?
Okay, Rob Smith asks, how many countries do you think have better test teams now than 25 years ago?
What a great question. What a super. What, Afghanistan? Bangladesh?
Ireland.
Ireland, yeah.
They don't have one.
No, they didn't have one, but I wonder. Yeah.
Yeah.
And England. And maybe India.
I think India more consistent and that.
But the general point of the question, I suspect, is there's a great group of sort of test teams which have deteriorated horribly. And Pakistan is one. I'm afraid Sri Lanka's one. West Indies weren't great 25 years ago, but I think the decline has continued.
They had Lara.
I think South Africa is in decline.
New Zealand's still competitive. But of course, they won in '99. They beat England, so you'd have to say they've probably gone down because that was a high winning in England.
But the point is that there are some really good, long-standing traditional test nations, such as, well, not they're a nation, but the Caribbean and Pakistan, who are at the lowest of ebbs.
I think now we're fully into a generation. If you're under 27 and 28, you're a part of a generation that was brought up to only play for the best players to play white ball cricket, right? And that's what we're seeing. We're seeing secondary and even in some cases tertiary level of players from any generation coming through to play number formats, and some of them in basically anywhere apart from Australia and England, I'd say. In India, their best players will play white ball, and
They play both in India.
they've got a big enough base that even their second and third best players focusing on red ball is still very, very high standard. The Ranji Trophy is obviously incredibly high standard as well. So that's bringing through good players. But Sri Lanka really, the players who are coming through are quite below par, the best players of their equivalent age group at this point.
Okay, lastly, Danny asks, can you explain what the Rooney Rule is and how many times has the ECB actually applied it since promising to do so for all coaching jobs within England teams in 2018?
So I checked this. I mean, they have applied it more often than you would think, actually, but they certainly haven't applied it to this appointment of Brendan McCullum. And they weren't going to apply it, were they, when they sat Mott and tried to get Owen Morgan? So they've got...
Wasn't that what interviewing Kumar Sangakkara was about? Or at least kind of suggesting that he was in the frame?
There's no pretense that they operated the Rooney Rule on this occasion. They don't even claim to have done. For those who don't know, the Rooney Rule is the idea that a person of colour will be interviewed for every senior position in this. So they're about to announce a Lions coach. They did do it for that. I think it was done before Mott and possibly McCullum the first time were appointed. I'll have to check that one. Certainly Mott. More than you would think, but not enough. And not on this occasion. We've got to get past. It does seem quite clubby. This, it does. This particular era of director of cricket and coach does seem to be about knowing people. And this is really understandable. And go for a round of golf and making bonds that way. And that's not, I'm not meaning to dismiss that. I can see some benefits in that. We've got to be better than that. We've got to be more inclusive than that. And there's no pretense that they did it on this occasion. They're saying that it was a restructure rather than, that's what they're saying. I'm just answering the question. I think they have made some moves in this direction, but I still think when things are tough, when there's something they really want, they'll skip over that.
Can I ask some extra question on top of that? Who holds that into account? Is there anyone to kind of actually go beyond journalists like yourselves, going, have you done this? Is the process being followed? What happens if in 3 years' time?
Well, supposedly there's a regulator. There is a regulator, and DCMS. But no, I would always say these things are the media. It's up to the media. Do the media care? I don't know.
So keep asking those questions.
It's absolutely fantastic that you've asked the question. Fantastic that we've talked about it. And somewhat concerning that on this occasion they found a reason not to do it.
Right.
See you tomorrow.
And you're here tomorrow.
I'm here tomorrow.
Everybody's here tomorrow. We'll see you here for the second day of the third test in England, Sri Lanka at the Oval, the Kia Oval.